Hello everyone, it's SpawnPoiint and today we are taking a look at one of the most anticipated gaming monitors of 2024. This is a 32-inch 4K OLED that supports 240Hz, VRR, HDMI 2.1 and has a glossy screen. It's ROG's latest 32-inch QD-OLED, the PG32UCDM, and this thing looks incredible. Well, today we're going to go over what it's like for gaming, the specs, pros and cons of a QD-OLED, and what it's like for productivity as well as movies. If you're after a new monitor for your PS5, Xbox or PC, this could be the one. There is a lot to cover, but any questions you've got, just drop those below. Okay, so starting with the design, and I can't lie, this looks awesome in the setup. It looks like most of the other recent ROG monitors that we've had with its ultra-thin frame and its slim bezels, but it also has that chunky rear case which houses all of the internals as well as a custom heatsink. But what I like about the ROG monitors is this, the LEDs on the back in the shape of their logo. It creates that nice RGB glow, and this definitely gives the monitor that nice clean gaming vibe as well. There's also some subtle branding throughout, including an ROG logo on this notch on the front which you can switch off in the settings. Now in the box it does come with a stand. It's got these metal feet and a plastic arm, and it does pretty much everything that you need in terms of movement and adjustments. It'll move up and down, tilt and pivot, and it will even swivel side to side. But if like me, you happen to use a monitor arm, well you can mount this to one of those instead, and that's what I'll be using today. It even comes with a VESA adapter in the box that you can pop in place instead of the stand. Now I'm currently using the Secret Lab Magnus arm, which I have linked to below, and it will easily hold the weight of this monitor. Plus it looks clean and it frees up some space on your desk as the stand is pretty big. Now the only thing I wanted to mention, although not a huge issue, is the build quality on the edge of the screen. It looks great with the ultra thin bezels, it really does, but when you grab and move it around, the frame feels pretty thin and flimsy, like there's a little bit of flex as you squeeze it. Again, this is not an issue, but I wanted to be honest with my experience so far. Right, okay, so that's enough about the design and the stand. Let's talk about specs. And this monitor is packing some serious features. Like, if you'd asked me a year ago what I wanted from the ultimate gaming monitor, I would have listed 32 inches, 4K and OLED. Well, this has all of that and some more. Let's start with the fact that it's a 32-inch screen. Over the last few years, I've used a mixture of 27, 32, 34 and 42-inch screens, and for me, 32 inches is the sweet spot. Yes, a 27-inch is probably best for FPS games, and 42-inch best for those story-driven games, but 32 inches feels like the right balance between the two, especially for a desk setup. Also, this is a QD-OLED panel, so we're getting those inky blacks, perfect contrast and an incredible image quality. I threw some generic 4K content on here just to show off the black levels, and I forgot how good this would look. But there's no surprise considering this is also True Black 400 certified, and it supports HDR10, and Dolby Vision is coming very soon. But there was one thing I wanted to point out was the slightly raised black levels when watching it during the day. This is most noticeable if you have a light source shining directly onto the screen. Instead of it being jet black, the black levels are kind of a dark grey. This is not an issue at night or if you can control the lighting in your room, but still is something I wanted to mention. Colours are another thing. QD-OLED combines both OLED and quantum dot to give us the same great benefits of a normal OLED, but with improved colours and vibrancy. You're going to get a more vivid picture and image quality from your games, and this is massively helped by the 99% DCI P3 colour gamut. Now as for the brightness, well in HDR this peaks at around 1000 nits at a 3% window, which is good, although at a 100% window it's just 250 nits. This sounds low, but in a normally lit room this looks and performs absolutely fine. And as this is a 4K panel, games, movies and any other content I've put on here looks crisp and sharp, as we're getting the full 3840 by 2160 resolution, something that I've been missing on my 27-inch OLEDs. Now, unlike the usual monitors that have an anti-glare matte coating, this one comes with an anti-reflective glossy finish. I know this is something that's often requested with an OLED screen, so let's talk about why you'd want a glossy finish. Well, the main reason is the black levels, contrast and image quality will naturally be better when there's no coating over the top, and this is what we often see with most TVs. But with that glossy finish, you're going to be open to reflections with that mirror-like finish. But I can tell you now from the testing that I've done, the anti-reflective finish looks great and is dark enough to block out most reflections in the room. It's still going to pick up those bright reflections if you've got a window or a light source directly opposite the screen, but it definitely improves the overall image quality. Viewing angles is another thing. The fact that it's an OLED, you're going to get those near perfect viewing angles as we move around the screen. Now it's not like you'd ever view this screen from this angle, but the fact is you can position it however you'd like and not worry about losing contrast or vibrancy. Now, whether you want to use this for PC gaming or console gaming, this monitor does tick most of the boxes that you'll need, including 2 HDMI 2.1 ports, a display port, a USB-C, and even a headphone jack. Over the last week, I've jumped on all of the games that I've recently been playing, including Avatar Frontiers of Pandora, which I've now completed, Spider-Man 2, Forza, and most recently Tekken 8 and Suicide Squad. And I can tell you now, everything looks brilliant on this screen. So firstly, we know it's a 4K QD-OLED panel, so those inky blacks and contrast levels look really impressive. Even just navigating around the home screen on the PS5, this shows off the clarity and the perfect blacks. And if we quickly jump into the menus on both the PS5 and the Xbox Series X, it confirms here that we have the 4K resolution as well as 120Hz support. And let me tell you, the refresh rate and the motion on this is buttery smooth. Now, not only do we get the 120Hz support, but it also offers VRR, or the variable refresh rate, and BFI, or their take on the black frame insertion. So we are literally getting the best frame rate support from a monitor. There's no stuttering, no screen tearing, and no motion blur. It also supports Nvidia's G-Sync and FreeSync Premium Pro. Now, running it with a 4K resolution will obviously give us the best overall resolution and picture quality, but you can of course still run this at 1440p or 1080p, and this is useful if you want to take advantage of a higher frame rate. Then there's the response time. ASUS have confirmed this has a 0.03 millisecond grey-to-grey response. You're also not going to notice or see any lag or delay while gaming, even on the most demanding of games. I often use this setup for playing Call of Duty, so playing a few games with my mates was the best way to really test it out. Don't get me wrong, the 27-inch monitors are brilliant, but I was constantly pulling it closer to me on the arm, whereas this feels like the perfect size for the distance that I'm sitting. On top of this though, you can actually change the aspect ratio in the on-screen display menu, to make it either 27 or 24 inches if it helps. Now, both the PS5 and Xbox max out at 120 FPS, so you're not really going to make the most out of this monitor. Whereas gaming on a PC or laptop, you've got the potential of unlocking the full 240Hz capability. Oh, and not only does this have a custom heatsink built in, which is designed to keep it cool and prevent the screen from damage, it's also fanless, so you won't even hear it while you're gaming. And you don't need to worry about burn-in, as they do provide a 2-year OLED burn-in warranty. ASUS have also integrated their Game Plus features, which allows you to enable several overlay features to improve your game. We can add a crosshair on screen, an FPS counter, a timer, and a stopwatch. On top of that, they've applied their ROG Gaming AI tech, which provides 2 cool features. The first one is the dynamic crosshair, which automatically changes its color against the background, so you can aim onto your enemies even easier. And then there's the dynamic shadow boost, and this gives the contrast a boost during gameplay, making it even easier to see those dark areas. So this is primarily a gaming monitor. There's no built-in apps or app store, no TV or cable antennas. But that doesn't mean it cannot be used for watching movies or TV shows. And it actually does this really well. So not only is it a great size for sitting back and watching a movie on, it's got those perfect black levels, a nice glossy screen, and of course that 4K resolution. So whether you're on a PC or a console where you can stream any of the usual apps including Netflix and Disney Plus and make the most out of the screen. Animated movies will always look incredible as the colours and vibrancy really pop, but then any movies that are darker where you can see just how impressive the contrast is. And this is the sort of monitor that will make you wish all of your TVs and monitors were OLED. Now at the time of testing this, Dolby Vision isn't yet supported, however ASUS have confirmed it will be coming within the first half of 2024. Another area worth talking about is productivity. I'll assume that most of you would want to use this monitor for gaming, but when you're not gaming, you might want to use it for work as well. Well, this monitor will easily take care of that as well, with some decent features that a lot of other gaming monitors don't have. And the first one being USB-C. This means you're able to hook up your laptop or your MacBook to not only send a signal to the screen, but you can actually charge and power it with the 90-watt power delivery. And this is a massively underrated feature, as you'll only need the one cable when plugging it in. Now, I actually use this monitor for editing my most recent video on the channel, and although it's obviously not an ultra-wide, the flat panel screen gives me a nice workspace to edit with, and on top of that, QD-OLED gives us those improved colours and blacks. So what I'm seeing here is almost the best I'm going to get from a monitor. Now you might also be wondering, what is the text like on here? Well, text clarity and fringing is always a concern with OLEDs, as it won't be as sharp or as clear as say an LCD. But with that said, this looks really good. This is due to 2 things. The first is the fact that it's a 4K screen, and it's also helped by being a 3rd gen QD-OLED panel. So text is noticeably clearer on here than say a WOLED screen, and I've had no issues using it for reading or writing text on pages. The other feature is the fact that it comes with a built-in KVM with hotkey. This is useful if you have 2 PCs or a laptop and a PC. as it will allow you to switch between multiple PCs or laptops at the same time while in picture-in-picture mode. Then to help combat ABL or the auto brightness limiter, it's got a setting called uniform brightness. This actually stops the screen from changing brightness as you swap between different windows, or when you drag a white window across your screen. And this is actually one of the biggest annoyances of using an OLED for work, so this feature should really help prevent that. Now out of the box, this monitor really is great, and you could use it without making any changes and still be happy. But if you want to mess around with the settings, there are two ways you can do it. The first is using the on-screen menu, where you need to press the little joystick on the back of the notch, and then you'll have this UI pop-up. Here you can check and change various settings like the picture settings, brightness, switching VRR on, and swapping the input. Everything can be done on here, although it's a little fiddly to use the joystick. The other option is to use the Display Widget Center software. This will let you tweak and change exactly what you need, including what mode to play with, the brightness, shadow boost, and color temps. You can also update it from here as well. In fact, everything that you can do via the on-screen display, you can basically do easier via the app. Of course, you would need to use a PC or laptop to view this software. I also think it's worth mentioning the OLED Care Protection settings. This uses pixel cleaning, a screensaver, and a screen move feature to help protect it. And as mentioned earlier, it does come with a 2-year burn-in warranty. And a quick look at the available connections. So we get 2 HDMI 2.1 ports, 1 DisplayPort 1.4, 3 USB 3.2 ports, and 1 USB-C port with that 90 watt power delivery. There's also an optical out as well as a 3.5mm headphone jack. Now as you might have guessed, there are no speakers on this, you would either need to use headphones or external speakers. And as for what's inside the box, well, it comes with the usual accessories that you'd normally get from an ROG monitor. So there's a pouch with a USB-C cable, an ultra high-speed HDMI cable, a DisplayPort cable, and a USB-A to USB-B cable. Then there's also the power cable and a power adapter. We've got the stand itself, which comes in 2 parts. We have the main arm that clicks into the back and the feet. But there's also a VESA bracket if you want to wall mount it or use a monitor arm instead. So in summary, this 32-inch OLED is an incredible screen. Now at the time of making this video, the price of the monitor hasn't yet been announced, so it's hard to say whether it's good value or worth buying from a cost perspective. But what I can say is from a spec and performance point of view, this monitor really is worth buying. We have finally got a 4K 32-inch screen that offers pretty much everything that we've asked for. It's glossy, it's thin, VRR, 240Hz, and it's actually a monitor that I'm excited about using. I think if you're on console or a PC where 240Hz is more than enough for you, this is going to be a solid buy. I suppose the only real question is, do you prefer a glossy or a matte finish on your screen? As I know that is a question that divides a lot of us. Now if this is a screen that you are interested in, I have linked to it below where you can pre-order or maybe buy it at the time of watching. Well, I hope you enjoyed this hands-on and first look at the QD-OLED from ROG. Let me know your thoughts. And if you have any questions or something you would like me to test out, just ask and I will try to get back to you. Now drop a 4K gaming in the comments and I'll give you a thumbs up for staying right till the end. And if you did enjoy today's video, check out my guide on improving your setup video next, as it covers 10 tips to upgrade your gaming setup in 2024. Well, thanks for watching, please like, sub and follow me everywhere. Until next time.